Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you to this daily Hindu editorial video. These videos they come in Hindi and English both languages in the morning, and in the evening the PIB videos come, and the PDF you get on the Telegram channel of StudyIQ and on my Facebook group of Amit Sani group for IAS preparation. So there I upload these PDFs daily. And today is 8th of February, and the motivation today: we are what we repeatedly do. That is our personality. And excellence then is not an act but the habit. Aristotle talked about virtues, and he said that virtues can be acquired and you can practice these things. Practice makes a man perfect, and excellence is the perfection, and it is achieved only by the practice. So repeatedly things that we do, they are going to change everything about our personality. You can change your most difficult habits just by practicing a little bit daily. So we may be thinking of ourselves anything that we think that we are good, we think that we are best, we think that we are very much excellent in some things. But when we try ourselves, when we compare ourselves really with others, then only we know the truth, and we need improvement. But you see, whatever we are, whatever our personality is, whatever your image is, whatever your character is, it is your repeated doing, nothing else. So take care of that thing and always evaluate maximum amount of your time and maximum amount of your effort. So that is all going to create your personality, and the real personality you will have. Vocabulary, the words that I found today in the paper, and you can try them in the sentences. Now the article, you see, it is somehow on the political lines because it is evaluating the performance of the present government. But what is important for us, the indicators that are discussed in this particular article, and what are the areas where we need to improve a lot. It is talking about those indicators. So we will discuss this article, and it is going to be important for GS paper 2 and GS paper 3 both, because the section of environment and these ecosystems, they are also discussed here. You see three important indexes: ease of doing business, human development index, and environmental performance index. These three are released by international bodies, and they take indicators from our country, from our economy, from our different spheres. So they are self-explanatory. That's why the writer says these are self-explanatory. We don't need to explain them. The rankings, the numbers, and the data, they show the truth. So this is the election year, and we should know that what are the areas that the government has worked a lot and we have improved a lot. The way we talk about ease of doing business, then certainly we have come way forward and we have improved a lot here. So it's a total positive development here, because if we talk about the last 50 years, especially this ease of doing business was not that much focused. But in the last 5 years, this ease of doing business has improved a lot. And if we talk about the ranking, we were at 134th in 2014, and today we are at 77th number out of 190 countries. So that's a major improvement, from 134 to straight 77th number out of 190 countries. Although 76 countries are still way ahead of us, but from 134 to 177, it's a major improvement. And you see, this ranking is based on the extent to which government regulations facilitate these things. What are those things? Starting a business, obtaining construction permits and electricity connection access, registering property and accessing the credit, protection of investors. So these all are the major contributory in making this list of ease of doing business, and we have improved here a lot. That is the ultimate gist of it. And next, if we talk about some controversies which still remain here, what are those? The Planning Commission used to release data on infrastructural investment. Infrastructural investment means it's a capital investment, and it's a long-term investment measure. So regarding that, data used to come, and that was released by Planning Commission, which was the former body of Niti Aayog. Now from 1st of January 2015, we have Niti Aayog instead of Planning Commission. So there is no data now. They are not releasing any kind of data regarding infrastructural investment. So it's a problem. So the real picture and the 100% evaluation even on this area of ease of doing business, that is not in front of us. So it is giving us the partial information, and that is the comment by a Nobel laureate, a chief economist, by a chief economist also. The name is not given here. Okay, so this EDB is actually measuring the effect of government regulation alone. It is not talking about the producers' services and some electricity measures, water supply measures, and waste management. This waste management is the most crucial and negative aspect. You see, we released rules regarding these different kinds of waste, electricity waste and medical waste, solid waste, but the follow-up and especially the solid waste management, that's very, very problematic. Recently we saw a report where this mountain of garbage we discussed in the metro cities and the havoc they are creating on the public health, and how these diseases like COPDs, which are because of this air pollution and these different kind of wastes which are there, okay, and the cancer and all other hygiene based disease which are also there. So they are a real problem for Indian economy, for India's health sector. And here, when we are growing in the economy, we have become the 6th largest nation. We have surpassed France's economy. So the solid waste management, that remains a very crucial aspect. You can say it's an Achilles heel for India, because India cannot invest in these advanced technologies which are taking care about the waste management. We need heavy investment here, but that investment we are putting here in the economic growth of this country. We are at a developing stage. We cannot afford technological advancement in all the areas, and that's why this solid waste management area is ignored here. But it is going to create huge problems for India's economy and India's health sector. We need to focus here a lot. So this ease of doing business does not does not talk about this waste management issues. But still we would say that since 2014 we have improved a lot in this area. Next aspect is the Human Development Index. It is released by UNDP, and since 2010 we have Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index, IHDI that we call it. And you see, Amartya Sen and Mehboobul Haq, these two people, one was from India, one was from Pakistan. Out of their rare collaboration and very positive research and collaboration, they developed this Human Development Index, and 3 important components are there: life expectancy and education levels. Maybe you call it the schooling years. These are average schooling years. And importantly, it is not talking about the quality of the education. What are the learning outcomes, what are the learning levels, and what are the learning improvements? It does not talk about that. That's why it is said that it's incomplete information. But still it is talking about the schooling years and the educational levels of the country and the life expectancy. And third one is the income aspect. So out of these 3 important basic things of life, they are producing this Human Development Index. And in this SDI index, we have not improved. We were at 130th rank out of 185 countries in 2014, and in 2018 we are still here at 130 number. So it's a major embarrassment, and India is showing a unique example where any country can make exceptional economic growth, but at the same time human development remains a crucial aspect, and there is no development on the Human Development Index. So economy can grow fast without much progress in the human development. That's the unique example, and that is surely telling a story that we are ignoring some areas and we are doing this economic growth on a particular cost of human development and the environmental system, environment and balance of the country. Because on the environmental front, we are also witnessing a huge amount of losses. Recently, we released the coastal regulation zone, the areas where we put a maximum amount of restrictions in the last rules. Now we are giving clearances there to these resorts and these real estate development and all. So we are ignoring these areas. These are one of the most sensitive areas. That means the human development aspect and the environmental front, on both of their costs, we are making economic growth here, and that is the real trouble. Okay, we are adding numbers in the GDP terms, but certainly we are not caring about the equality aspect and the quality aspect of the poor people. You see, India is one of the most unequal country. Inequality is a major problem in the in whole world, but especially for India, where most luxurious life living these richest people, they are also here in India, and in the vicinity of their particular offices, homes, you would see people dying on the streets out of hunger, out of cold conditions in the night, because they are sleeping on the roads. So this unimaginable situation is really problematic, and that's why this HDI aspect is showing us the reality. It is showing a mirror to the government also, that you are making good GDP numbers, but your lives, they are not having a quality. And certainly you have improved in the numbers of average schooling year, you have higher numbers of enrollment, but recently we saw that the quality of education is perilous in this country, and especially the higher education is at a dangerous level, and we are not investing here. And the privatization of education, that is way more problematic with our nation. Okay, regarding this environmental cost and this environmental performance index, which is released by Yale and Columbia University, both are American universities, plus the World Economic Forum. So they are releasing on the basis of 24 performance indicators. Okay, these are issue indicators, and mainly the air quality, water and sanitation, water resources, agriculture, biodiversity, fisheries, forest, climate and energy. If we leave the solar and renewable energy aspects, if we leave these areas aside, in all these aspects we are the worst performers in the world. If we make the 20 most polluted cities list, then out of 2017-18 cities would be from India, and mainly these are the countries from states. These are tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Metro cities are always there on the top, but these cities are performing worse than that. The cities like Gwalior, the cities like Jaipur, Lucknow and other cities from North Indian states, they are the worst performers. And the quality of life, you can imagine there. You can imagine the situation of diseases which are caused by air pollution, the lung cancer, COPD and all other important diseases which are scaring India's future, scaring India's health sector. An enormous amount of challenge of NCDs we are having because of these environmental concerns, and lifestyle is totally changed. So we are not taking care of those situations. We are not investing here. Our whole investment is mismanaged and unbalanced in a way, and that is the picture coming out of these reports. Although it's a very negative assessment, but that's a true report. We hailed our progress on the economic front, on the ease of doing business. That was totally positive, and that was a win-win situation for us. But this issue which is scaring India's health sector and which is very much ignoring the ecosystem aspect, and that is the huge concern. And here we need to work a lot, and that is giving us the opportunity to focus on this area, because here we are losing a lot and our growth would be vulnerable in the future, and the generations which are coming, they are going to have a burden of it, a big burden. Okay, and you see the ranking here. I forgot to tell you the ranking. The 177th rank we have got out of 180 countries. Means totally we are the worst performers in the world. 177 out of 180 means all kinds of nations, developing, developed, African nations, least developed, developed countries, they all are way ahead of us, and we are 177th country in this environmental index. So that's a huge problem. We saw the vision document for 2030, and there they said that India would be free of poverty, India would be free of health issues, and India would be having a clean environment, India would be having clean water to drink, and there would be no problem on the environmental side, and wildlife would be conserved. But you see the situation here, reality, the index number is 177th. We are always hailing these numbers on the ease of doing business, but we don't accept these numbers. That's the problem. So these numbers, they are clearly showing that government has aggressively pursued an improvement in the business environment, but the real environment issue is ignored here. And these coastal regulation zone notifications, the new notifications that has come, that is showing us our real intentions and our real level of ignorance towards these issues, these crucial issues. We are taking these things for granted. We are taking environment for granted, and that is nowhere sustainable. Okay, that's why the writer says in the end, ill fares the land where wealth accumulates and nature frees. So we can understand that. Next article is regarding the Afghanistan issue, and that is a repeated issue. Again and again we have discussed this issue a lot, but a different angle here, that is Iran angle, that is explained here. So it is going to be important for the GS paper 2 here. And you see this Iran angle is crucial because Iran is not much discussed in the Afghanistan issue and the exit of USA's troops from here. Taliban is discussed, Pakistan is discussed, and India is also discussed. But till now, Iran is not heavily discussed. And Iran can be the most important interlocutor and most important broker in making the area stabilize. Because Iran is the regional country, it's a neighbor of Afghanistan. If we see the map here, you see this is India. And this is Pakistan. And this is Afghanistan. It's a landlocked country, and the neighbors are Pakistan, and it also touches India's head here, that is a POK area, but we have a 80-kilometer boundary with Afghanistan, so we are also a neighbor. And this is Iran here. Iran is the most important nation geopolitically because here these are European countries. Here these are Central Asian countries, and we have good relations with Iran. Okay, this is Chabahar port, Strait of Hormuz, and this is Gwadar port here. Okay, here you can see Chabahar port and Gwadar port. So we have very good relations with Iran, and USA is demanding India's help in Afghanistan situation. They are demanding our troops, but that is not viable. That is not possible for India to send our armies there and control the situation. And that is also out of the discussion because today USA is bound to negotiate with Taliban. Taliban has become the most important factor, and the war on terror that was started with the attack on Taliban. Now Taliban is coming out of it and as the most important stakeholder here in the Afghanistan situation, and USA is bound to talk with Taliban. So nothing can be worse than the situation for USA. And you see the Trump administration, it has spoiled a lot here because anyhow in 2016 Barack Obama's administration, they somehow dealt with Iran and they made this thing possible, the Iran nuclear deal. But after Trump came, he has spoiled a lot. He withdrew from major convention, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the Climate Change Initiative, and this Iran nuclear deal. He withdrew from here, and again the sanctions are imposed on Iran. And you see, when in 2005, when sanctions were imposed on Iran at the first time, so Iran went out of hands, and it collaborated with the Taliban in a sense. It supplied weaponry, and it gave trainings to these camps and all. So anyhow, Taliban was working against USA's interest, and still it is doing that. But anyhow, after that, they managed the equation with Iran, and this Iran nuclear deal was possible in 2016. But within 2.5 years, we can see the situation here where USA is having an insulting exit from Afghanistan. And you see, if you talk about the Iran situation regionally, Iran would want a stable area, and certainly it would want a stable Afghan government. After 2001 also, they supported Hamid Karzai's government, and anyhow Iran made an effort to make this area stable. But in 2005, when these sanctions came, after that situation became worse, and especially for USA. Iran is consistently opposing USA's presence in this particular local region, and now the sanctions are again there against Iran. So these developments are totally against USA. Afghanistan is totally out of hands, and it stopped these grants to Pakistan. Then situations became too negative for USA because nobody was helping in this area, and that's why USA was demanding India's help. And USA was saying that India is the most important aspiration for us in this area, and you should help, you should actively participate. But that is not possible for India. We cannot directly involve here because Taliban is also involved, and we have not started our open talks with the Taliban, and still we are putting conditions here that if the Afghanistan government, Taliban has sidelined the Afghanistan government, and that's why it is not possible for us to talk to Taliban directly. Although these major stakeholders like Russia, China, USA, they all are on a negotiating table with Taliban. Russia has also got the opportunity because USA is failing here, and Russia sponsored Taliban meet was possible for USA recently. So all our stakeholders here, and India is somehow isolated here because we don't want to involve with the Taliban directly if Afghanistan government is not there. So Afghanistan government is failed here, and our active participation is also not possible. Okay, so it's a complex situation, and ultimately USA is isolated here. That's why it wants India's help, but that is not possible. So Iran is the country where USA has to negotiate, and USA has to lower its ego here because it has spoiled a lot. And even the European allies of USA, they also want these sanctions on Iran to be reversed, and they don't see this particular movement of sanctions against Iran as upright, proper, or you can say appropriate. They also want Iran to be free of these sanctions. If the situation improves between USA and Iran, then certainly these European allies of USA, they also would hail this particular step. And you see what's going to happen after that. If Iran and USA, they are coming on a positive equation, then certainly Iran can play a bigger role here. It is talking to Taliban right now, and right now what is happening? Right now the situations are not good between Iran and USA, and USA is alleging that Iran is talking to Taliban and Iran is supplying weapons to Taliban, and it is bolstering the situation of Taliban, and that's why it is more problematic for us to deal with Taliban. So still they are on this particular situation, and as a phase it has developed that they are totally against each other, USA and Iran. But this situation is totally harmful for whole area, for USA, for India, for this whole area, and this area would be it is never going to be stabilized if this situation does not get reversed, because Iran is an important country. It's a regional player and it's a major player. It is the most important Middle East country and most powerful also because it has nuclear weapons, and that's why these sanctions came. But you see, here USA has to play a positive role. It has to engage Iran anyhow, and Iran is only going to help here. Pakistan is not a powerful country, and Pakistan cannot do much. Because of Taliban's appreciation, Pakistan is jumping now. And today, in this one of the most complicated scenario on the international level, as this Afghanistan situation has become, Iran is the only country that can help USA, because USA is stuck in the most complex situation here internationally, because being the most powerful nation of the world, being the most important player after World War II, USA is facing a lot of humility, and it's the most insulting situation for USA till date. So anyhow, USA has to manage the situation, and negotiating with Iran is going to be much more helpful, and it is going to stabilize this area. And if this area is stabilized, it is going to be a win-win situation for all, for India, for USA, for Central Asian nations, for Russia, and for Iran, everyone. And giving Taliban the enormous power and shifting the whole power in Taliban's hand, it can make this area very much unstable, because Taliban has tested enormous power in the past, and it played with this area, and that was totally a negative development. They wanted to impose the Sharia law here, and they did not believe in the democratic ways. Today they are talking about the democracy, today they are talking about changing the constitution, and today they are talking about caring about the people of Afghanistan, but nobody can guarantee about Taliban. That's why this balance is needed, and Iran is the most important country that can check this balance, and that's why this Iran angle is very, very important. Okay, there used to be a 6+1 group where Afghanistan, China, India, Iran, Pakistan, Russia, and US, they were the stakeholders, and Washington and Moscow, they were moving very smoothly in this situation till 2016, and the 6+1 group was working fine. And when this Trump's administration came, then it became a problem, because the relations between Russia and America, they got worse, and this peace process that went into jeopardy, because Iran became a big problem for USA. They imposed sanctions again, and it was a major stakeholder in this 6+1 group, and it could play a very positive role, and these all countries were essential in maintaining peace in this area. But now things are out of hands. That is the situation, and Russia was not the major stakeholder here the way it was there in the Syria's case, but now Russia has become a major stakeholder. Russia is now hosting these meetings where Taliban is involved. Okay, so that is the development. And for India, beyond Chabahar, India, Iran, and Russia, these three countries, they were founding countries of the International North-South Transport Corridor project, and since 2002, but after that much developments they did not follow. But this group is very important, and it shows the importance of the collaboration between these three important countries: India, India, Iran, and Russia. And India's role can be of a broker here. It can broker the relation between USA and Iran, although it is a less possibility that USA would be ready to take Iran on board. But it is the need of the hour today, and India can play a major role. It is not possible for India to send troops in Afghanistan, but certainly this brokerage is possible for India. The way Iran helped in overthrowing Taliban in 2001, the same task it can do now. And today Taliban is on a political platform, so things can become positive if Iran plays a major role here. But it is the USA that has to negotiate with Iran, and India can play a broker's role here, so that's important. So this is all we discussed in this particular situation, and it is heavily discussed. Last month we discussed many articles regarding the Afghanistan situation, and how it is a win-win prospects, and what role we can play here. and find out these areas of Strait of Hormuz and the boundaries of Iran, Afghanistan, Chabahar Port, Gwadar Port in the map today. I'm giving you this question. Next is regarding the interest rate cut by RBI. You see, there is a monetary policy, and that is a quantitative tool of RBI. MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, it was established in 2016. I discussed about it. RBI governor is the chairman, deputy governor is there, and one more person from RBI is in the team of 6. So 3 people are from RBI. It was the first MPC's meet for Shashikant Das, who has become the new RBI governor. So he took this decision, and you see they cut it by 25 basis points, means 0.25% rate cut. This MPC decides about the inflation scenario of India, and the main task is the inflation targeting. And how it targets with changes in the interest rates. And you see, in 2016 they brought this MCLR system, where marginal cost lending rate was decided, because with the previous base rate system, it was a problem for customers and it was a problem for banks, because RBI was deciding about the rate cuts, and it wanted to give this advantage of lower rates to these customers. But banks, they were not lowering their interest rate down, because banks were in stress, and the whole earning of the banks is based on this interest. So they did not lower these amounts. So they came with a balanced situation, a balanced approach, that MCLR system should be brought, and case by cases, category by category of the customers and the loans, they should decide about the lending rates. So it is all about the monetary policy of the RBI, and anyhow they are managing the situation of inflation. So just 4 months back, they went towards this calibrated tightening steps they took, and they raised the interest rate by 25 basis points. If you see, in October 16 it was 6.25, then they came down to 6, and it was a low inflation phase. That's why these interest rates they came down. When in these inflation rates, they are low, and they have been consistently low for the last 4 years. So at this time, they want more investment. These companies, they want more investment. So banks are ready to give loans on low interest rates, because much money is lying with the banks, and less money is lying with the people, and that's why investments are halted. But it was a low inflation stage, but banks lending rate was also in peril. So it was a problematic situation that is going on with the banks, and that's not a normal situation where inflation is low and banks lending capacity is also low. Normally where inflation is down, then banks lending capacity is high. But because of this NPA situation, it was not a positive phase for banks, and their lending capacity was very low, and inflation is also very low. So that's why it's a very, very complex situation for RBI to handle. So they brought this interest rates down, and again they went up in June 18, and in August 18 they went up to 6.5. But again, just after 4 or 5 months, they have to brought it down to 6.25. And it's a particular phase where inflation rates are again coming down. Agriculture is going through a lot of stress, and reservoir, the water reservoirs of the country, they are working at the 44% of their capacity. Means agriculture is going to have a lot of stress in the near future. And Rabi crops, they are also recording 4% negative growth here, and an average monsoon. So all these conditions are leading to agrarian stress with low inflation rates, and it is the election year. So among all these situations, all these factors, RBI has to calibrate, and they were moving towards calibrated tightening, but again they are changing their particular stand, and they are bringing the rates down. So anyhow, this investment should follow. But now what is going to happen? Because it is the election year, government would spend a lot, and now government would need the money, and government would bring they would sell the government securities, and they would take this money from the market. So this money which should have gone towards investment, that would not go towards investment, and that would be taken by government by these securities selling. So it is going to be a crowding out situation again. This private investment would be crowded out by the government. Okay, although the interest rates would come down, but crowding out impact would be there for the private investment. Again, this private investment would be in peril. And one more issue of fiscal prudence, that is also not discussed in this policy of the RBI, and we did not see any mention of the fiscal prudence in the interim budget announcement also. You see, they are showing that 3.4% would be the fiscal deficit. It would have been 3.1 in 2019 and 20, but because of this 90,000 crore rupees income tax transfer to farmers, this would remain at 3.4% level, and the ideal situation is 3%. Anyhow, we have to bring it till the 3% number, and that would be fiscally prudent, but that is not possible for this year. So this fiscal prudence issue is missing, and agrarian stress is also a big trouble. So RBI's policy is going to be very crucial and very much under stress. They are bringing down these numbers of the interest rate, but how they are going to manage it, that is going to be a problem. And the MPC's task, that is of interest rates and inflation targeting, that is also going to be challenging, because in this complex situation where banks lending rate is also less and inflation is also less, these both things are going to be a very much big challenge. Okay, so this is all for this particular article, and I have explained to you the situation of RBI. Now the news is domestic air traffic growth climbs. It is the highest growth of 18.6% annually, and consistently for the last 4 years this growth is on a positive side. And you see, after this Udan scheme, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, when the scheme came of a regional connectivity scheme, that is also called, and where they were boosting the air traffic for the common people of India, anyhow they become habitual of this air traveling, and this area is very much advantageous for the government, and it's a very much a sunrise industry, and it has been very much successful for the last 4 years. And now we have got the highest growth rate. China is the second one, where 11.7% growth was there, and India is the only country besides USA which has got a positive growth in this year if we compare it with the last year's data. So USA and India, only two countries, they have got the positive growth from the last year's situation. So this is the data by IATA, International Air Transport Association, and tier 2 and tier 3 cities which are there in the states, and these are aspiring countries, and these are a major boost in this particular data. So this is going on. Next, intellectual property. In this index also we have improved. We were at the 44th position, and out of 50 global economies we have reached up to 36th position, because these issues are very much crucial in WTO's cases, and these intellectual property rights cases in the pharmaceutical area, generic medicine area, and in the innovation and R&D areas. You see, many issues we have in WTO regarding the intellectual property rights, and always these developed countries, they are having an edge in these particular situations, because these multilateral institutions, they are somehow biased towards these developed nations, and we have our own apprehensions, and we have raised concerns regarding the appointing committees of WTO and all. So appellate board is there. Appellate board is handling the disputes in WTO, and there this selection committee of the appointing members, that is problematic for India. That is problematic for many developing nations, because they are biased towards developed nations. So these IP issues, intellectual property issues, they are also a huge concern there, and here we have jumped to 36th position. Okay, so this is the background of it. Next, these are the MCQs. Try them, put their answers in the comment section, and I'm giving you a mains question regarding the INF treaties withdrawal by USA, and based on this situation you can calculate the international security situation and this protectionism and these wars which are going to be escalated in the near future. So what is going to happen about that? Comment on that situation, and the PDFs you will get on my Telegram channel, on the Telegram channel of StudyIQ, and my Facebook group, Amit Sani Group for IAS Preparation. And one map question I'm also giving you. Find all these areas, all these seas, gulfs in this particular map. You will find that within this particular area. So thanks a lot for now. Keep watching. It was Amit Sani.